Hi everyone, I'm Doug Cartwright for Guitar Interactive magazine, and today I'm here to demonstrate the Randall Thrasher head view, which is one of the leading amps in the Randall line and is designed to incorporate all of the necessary guitar tones for contemporary rock and heavy metal. So Randall is obviously one of the leading brands and sort of one of the biggest names in metal amplification. They've been around since the late 80s and really closely associated with Dimebag Darrell, who used the amps throughout his whole career, and also Scott Ian from Anthrax, who's been a user of them for many years. They're traditionally thought of as solid-state amplifiers. That's really where they kind of broke new ground when they came out. But now they've got full tube amps, and this is a full tube head using 6L6 tubes that was designed by Mike Fortin of Fortin Amplification. He's currently designing some amps for Randall, and this is one of them. So as a thrash player myself, I'm really excited to be giving this amp a go. Like I say, it's obviously got great heritage, and it's clearly completely designed for metal, so there's no compromises towards any other genres. And as such, the first channel, it's only a 2-channel head. The first channel is the gain channel, so it's all about high gain, modern high gain, and kind of versatility and flexibility within that. And the second channel is the clean channel, which you can also crunch up as well. You've got loads and loads of switching options for it, so there's complete versatility. You should be able to nail absolutely any modern tone with this. And it's all foot switchable as well, with the foot switch which is included with the amp. So it's definitely, you should be able to get what you want out of it. So if I just quickly run through the other features of the amplifier for you. On the back of the head, we've got a effects loop. So we've got in, and then we've got series or parallel outs on it. And we've also got basically every output you could ever need: 4 ohm, 8 ohm, 16 ohm, in almost all combinations you can think of. You're pretty much covered on outputs to do whatever you want. You've also got an emulated out, which is for running to direct to the front of house, and you've got a raw output, which is for running into something like a DAW if you want to use it with cab simulators or something like that. So without any more kind of focusing on too much technical details, let's get through to actually hearing it. So the first thing that's kind of really interesting about this amp and this gain channel is that you've actually got 4 different gain knobs on the distortion channel, on channel 1. You've got 4 different gain controls, which really helps you sculpt this tone. So I'm going to quickly run through what they all do. The primary one is actually the third one along, which is the gain switch. This is controlling your overall gain, right? Then you've got a low frequency gain and a high frequency gain. And this is to control the low end and the high end, so the treble side of it, separately from everything else. And I'll give you a demonstration in a minute of how that sounds. The fourth is a boost gain. So you've got a boost, which is switchable here and is also foot switchable. And this is going to push you into even more saturation. So first of all, I'm going to play for you. I've put the gain here at about 2 o'clock, and I've got the low frequency and high frequency gain at 12 o'clock. I've also, briefly, I've set the 3-band EQ here. I'll set that to 12 o'clock as well, which is the neutral point on the amp, so you can get an idea of how it sounds before you make any modifications. And it sounds like this. Okay, so that's a massive chugging kind of just pure thrash metal guitar tone straight out of the box. But let's listen to the differences that I can create with this. So the low frequency gain, if we focus on this first, if I bring this all the way rolled right off, you should get a very, very tight end with almost, if you're imagining graphic EQ, it would be like rolling the bass frequencies right out of it altogether. So it sounds like this. So that's a very thin sound, very, very articulate, great for very fast passages and things like that. And if I increase this up here and listen to it again as it was before, now you can hear a much warmer sound in the low end as there's more bass frequencies coming into the gain stage. Now if I crank it up full, you should really hear how big and fat this sounds. So. Great, so I'm hoping that that's going to translate fully in the studio here. That's literally making the floor shake from the amount of low end that's coming out of it. So I'm going to put this back now up to 12 o'clock. There we go, and I'll demonstrate the high frequency gain. So if I roll this all the way off, it's kind of the same thing. If you're imagining your EQ spectrum, it's kind of pulling the high side, the treble side back a bit. So with it completely off, it sounds like this. Okay, so that's a very thick sound, very, very thick. And as I pull it up, I'll put it back to 12 o'clock, which is where it was before, and you'll hear it sounds more articulate. It's just brighter, and kind of the pick attack will come through more clearly. So. Great. And then finally, I'm going to push it all the way up full, which I was entertained to note in the literature that came with the amp. They've described as diming it. In honor of Dimebag, who of course would always crank his trebles up as high as possible. So this creates a very articulate sound that's brilliant for fast riffing and balances well with the low frequency gain when you're pushing in a bit of bottom end. If you push a little more top end like this, you should be able to really hear all the notes but still have that really fat, chunky kind of sound. So I'll play a bit of that for you. There we go, cool. Okay, so the final gain stage that we've got on channel 1 is the boost level here, which I'm going to push now. So I've pushed that up. You can absolutely foot switch this as well. So everything that I'm doing on the front with the boost, you're good to do this with a foot switch. So this is like the final gain stage here. If obviously with it off, it will make no difference to the sound. As I pull it up higher, it just increases the saturation and just makes it just almost unbelievably gain heavy. So here it goes. This is with the boost switcher about halfway. Great. And just for the sake of hearing it, let's push that gain boost all the way up. So this is going to sound like this. Great, okay. So I would personally, for my taste, say that that's a little bit oversaturated. That's to the point where the gain is actually beginning to colour the sound and I can't quite hear the notes. But it's great for lead guitar, especially for kind of the fast legato runs and stuff like that, when you want to hear it sound real smooth. So I'll do a little bit of that so you can get the idea. I'm probably going to still pull it down a little bit, actually. Let's put it there, about 10 past. So fast legato. Great. Okay, so that's really demonstrated all the different gain stages we've got here. Now, there's one other thing. I'm going to switch the boost off again. Okay, so we're back down to kind of what I would use as my main kind of rhythm sound, where I've got my high frequency gain quite high, low frequency, bang it around halfway. I'm still keeping everything at 12 o'clock. Now I'm going to demonstrate the other tone sculpting thing we've got here, which is the shift switch. So we've got a mid-frequency shift here, which is a bit like, if you're imagining, again, if you imagine your kind of graphic equalizer, it's a bit like pushing. So it's going to be like a little push in the mid frequencies. When it's all the way up, it's pushing a bit higher. When it's all the way down, it's pushing it a bit lower. So it's just a different point. It's kind of focusing the mid-range of the amp in a different place on the spectrum. So I've been playing it with it up all the way so far. So I'll do that for you one more time, and then we'll go down so you can compare. Great, and then all the way down. Cool. The final position this can have, this is the middle switch here. If I put this in the middle, this is creating a scoop. So whereas the other two are pushing in different places, this is a scoop. This is pulling mid-frequencies out. This is completely associated with the kind of 90s metal sound, especially Dimebag would probably be the classic example of this. So here it is with the mid-scoop engaged. So that sounds like this. Okay, cool. So that's basically covered our entire kind of gain stage. So this is channel 1 with all of the features. You've obviously got just a massive amount of control over your gain sounds. And really, this is great, especially for gigging male musicians. Speaking from my own personal experience, I find that a lot of the gigs that I'm doing, I'm taking my amp, I'm not necessarily using my own cab. A lot because it's just an effort to carry them, and just the practicality of moving around a whole metal rig for small metal gigs is quite difficult. So something like this, where you've got so much control, and obviously combined with all of the different output options on the back of the amp, mean that you can really plug in to any cab in any room setting, and you should be able to fairly simply kind of sculpt it to create a really just crushing modern metal sound. Okay, so moving on, let's have a look at channel 2, which is the clean channel. Cool. So channel 2 is kind of the all-rounder clean channel. That's what Randall have really gone for here, to try and crush as many different things that a metal player, and in particular kind of a thrash and a more extreme metal player, would need from a clean channel. So really quickly on the front here, we've got kind of everything you would expect. You've got the gain and volume for the clean channel, and you've got a 3-band EQ. And then we've also got the mid-frequency shift switch that we had before. And we've also got a bright switch. So just to give you a quick idea of how it sounds, I'm going to leave the bright switch on for now, and I'll just play it for you with first the bridge pickup and then the neck pickup. So here's the bridge pickup through the clean channel. Great, and then here's the neck pickup, same thing. And then I'm just going to swap the bright switch down so that you can hear it with the bright switch disengaged. Great. And then finally, I'm just going to move the mid shift switch down so that you can hear it in the other position, which is going to sound like this. Great. So now there's actually 2 modes for the channel 2. So this is in the full clean position, and then I'm just going to push this back where it was, and back onto the bright channel. And now I'm going to show you the boost on here. So boosting the clean channel gives you a kind of a a crunchy kind of sound, like a think kind of AC/DC, that kind of, you know, overdriven kind of, but still pretty mild overdrive kind of sound. So I'll play you a little bit of that. I've got the gain at 12. Let's push it round to about, there we go, about 10 past. So here you go. This is the crunch channel. Okay, so that's a pretty comprehensive run through of all the different sounds that are available to you on the Randall Thrasher. I'm super impressed with this amp. I spend most of my time playing in extreme metal bands and thrash bands and progressive bands and all that kind of stuff. So for me, I've had a lot of experience with different high gain amps, and I know that to some people, especially people who aren't so experienced in those areas, an extreme gain channel is kind of, they're all the same. But if you use these a little bit, you know that really it's actually a super difficult thing to get right, especially if you're playing with another guitar player or you're playing in a band with a drummer with a big kit that's taking up a lot of space in the kind of sonic spectrum. And with the amount of control over just exactly where you're going to sit in terms of frequencies with the gain, as well as the control over the saturation, I would say that this amp is incredibly versatile and extremely useful for any kind of modern metal player. I would absolutely, definitely recommend checking it out. So I hope this has been a useful review for you and you've been interested. And yep, do please read through what I've written in the magazine for more information about this amp. So until next time, cheers.